What's going on, guys? Welcome back to We Want Picks. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckled Salamander, here to bring you my quick pick video for UFC 288. But before we get started, as always, make sure you go to WeWantPicks.com. Become a premium member today. It is only $10 a month. That means this card's only going to cost you $2.50. We've been doing fantastic the last few weeks. Lock of the week is 3 in a row. We're going to make it 4 in a row this week. We got line movement, DraftKings Optimizer, my picks, Angel's picks, Arden's picks, all of it, all for $10 a month. So go sign up, WeWantPicks.com. Let's get right into the action. UFC 288. I can't wait. Let's get it rolling, baby. Up for UFC 288, we have Daniel Santos, Willie Cat versus Johnny Munoz Jr., and I'm a little bit biased on this pick because my guy, Johnny Munoz Jr., former lock of the week, one of the most embarrassing lock of the weeks of all time versus Tony Gravely, and I'll be honest, in this fight, I don't know what he's got for Willie Cat. I don't know what he has to offer for this dude, Willie Cat. Willie Cat is one of those shoot-a-box Charles Oliveira strikers, the Muay Thai, pressure, power, tough as shit. You saw in the last fight, getting dropped, coming back, finishing the fight on the ground. Great wrestling, wild scrambles, good jiu-jitsu, and Johnny Munoz Jr. is a jiu-jitsu nerd that will strike. He will engage in the striking, but he's a long, rangy guy, and you can tell he does not like to get hit. Closes the eyes, head back, wants to get out of those situations. He wants everything clean. He wants the striking clean. He wants the grappling clean. He doesn't have really any wrestling to get on top of Santos. I think this is a Willie Cat play all the way. I got him minus 140 yesterday. These lines is minus 180, minus 185 already. In my mind, he should be a minus 250. I don't know what Johnny Munoz is going to have to offer unless Daniel Santos, Willie Cat, shoots a bad shot, maybe gets his neck taken. But outside of a Hail Mary submission, I don't see how Johnny Munoz Jr. wins this fight. I am Daniel Willie Cat Santos all the way in this matchup. Let's move on to the next one. Joseph Holmes versus Claudio, and this is another biased pick because last time that Joseph Holmes fought, I said that him and his opponent absolutely sucked. Joseph Holmes called me out on Twitter, sending me borderline death threats. If I see you and you shouldn't talk about fires like that, and then guess what happened? He absolutely sucked, and he got submitted in his last fight. He is a tall guy, rangy guy, but very, very slow, and pretty much everything he does can get controlled on the ground as well. And this dude, Claudio, is no joke. He's going to be in your face. He's trying to take your head off, and I believe this is a great matchup for Claudio because Joseph Holmes doesn't have in-and-out footwork. He kind of just stands in front of you. No real head movement either. He is very, very hittable, and I think Claudio is going to take this guy's head off. I'm biased again against Joseph Holmes. If he's trying to come at me, guess what? I'm picking against him again. Give me Claudio in this matchup. Let's move on to the next one. We have Zhalgas versus Rafael. And listen, Zhalgas is a very, very well-rounded fighter, right? Has had a tough go in the UFC recently where he's lost 5 of his last 6, something like that. But a lot of close decisions. And he is tough as shit. But sometimes in fights, he can kind of get pushed around. He can kind of get control. The pacing of the fight can not go his way. When he is moving forward, when he is shooting takedowns, when he is controlling the space of the octagon, if he is, that black line that goes around the octagon, if he is controlling that line and has the other person pressed against the fence, those are the fights that he is going to win. But this dude, Rafael, is going to be in his face, blast doubles, singles, trying to get him to the ground. And Zhalgas, with as good of offensive wrestling as he has, he can get controlled and out-wrestled. And I think that's exactly what happens in this fight with Rafael. I think he's coming in, shooting takedowns, getting him on the ground. We'll see if the gas tank can hold up. Zhalgas also kind of fades a little bit as the fight goes, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a concern. Zhalgas is a tough dude. This could be another close fight, but I like Rafael to push the pressure, push the pace, get the takedowns to either win a decision or find maybe a finish in the second, in the third round. So give me Rafael against Zhalgas in this matchup. Let's move on to the next one. Phil Hawes versus Ikram, and I'll be honest with you, if I'm a fighter in any regional UFC belter, and they ask me, hey, you want to fight a guy named Ikram? No thanks. Hey, I don't know why anyone would sign up to fight a guy named Ikram. You just know that dude is no joke. And Ikram in this matchup is no joke. Kind of a sambo world champion, and that's exactly what he's going to bring into this matchup. And I don't think that Phil Hawes has anything to offer for him. The issue is, and I've seen in fights before, on the Phil Hawes side and on the Ikram side, there has been gas tank issues. Ikram will start to fade as the fight goes on. So if this does leave the first, if it leaves the second, and it's competitive in the second, weird things can happen in this fight. If Ikram's cardio holds up, he should be able to control this fight. I understand the wrestling chops that Phil Hawes brings into this matchup, but it's not going to come in comparison to the sambo and control that this Russian Ikram is going to bring in this fight. So I think he's going to take down, control this fight. If the cardio holds up, I think he dominates. If not, things could get a little bit hairy, and maybe Phil Hawes can kind of dog out a victory against this big Russian. But I'm Ikram on this matchup. Confidence level is medium. I got the confidence levels on premium. WeWantPicks.com. Become a premium member. Let's move on to the next one. Parker Porter versus Braxton. I know a lot of people are against Parker Porter in this matchup, and I get it, right? Heavyweight matchup. Parker's getting knocked out. Braxton knocks everyone out that he fights, basically. He is a short king that comes in and throws absolute haymakers, but the bottom line is Parker Porter is the better fighter. He is an actual mixed martial artist, has good hands, good wrestling, and if he uses his wrestling in this matchup, if he gets on top and is laying on Braxton, Braxton is not going anywhere. And I have to imagine all those big muscles, he is going to gas very, very fast. So I'm going Parker in this matchup, but I understand. I'm not stupid, right? Braxton has the big power, and to close the distance, you have to walk into that big power. So yeah, I'm picking Parker, but I'm not putting money line on him. I'm not putting him in parlays. I'm not betting on him. But if you're looking for the picks, Parker Porter is the best mixed martial artist in this matchup. It's not even close. Braxton has the power advantage. If he can land it, he can definitely knock out Parker Porter. But if Parker Porter gets in there, mixes in some striking, gets a level change, takes him down, I think Parker Porter can absolutely dominate this matchup. So I would be careful. I get it if you want to play the Braxton side, but my pick is Parker Porter. Let's move on to the next one. Marina versus Jandiroba in this matchup, and this is the matchup of styles. I mean, if it stays standing, Marina is going to piece her apart, and if this goes to the ground, Jandiroba is going to control this fight, and that's why the odds are reflective with what they are. It's pretty much a pick-em fight. The issue is with Jandiroba is, yes, she has wrestling, but it's not like dominant wrestling. It's more of like control, hold you against the fence, get on your legs, work methodically for takedowns. And Marina, it seems like her takedown defense and her grappling is improving every single fight, and she's going to have a major advantage on the feet. And Jandiroba will strike. I mean, she will engage in the striking matchup, and Marina is going to control her with that jab, with the volume, with the speed in the matchup. So I'm going to go Marina Rodriguez in this matchup. I think she can withstand the kind of telegraphed at time takedowns of Jandiroba. If she starts getting in trouble on the feet, they become even more telegraphed in this matchup. And Rodriguez is definitely the way better, more dynamic striker in this matchup. So I believe it's going to be mostly striking, and I got to go with Rodriguez in what should be the better striker in a mostly striking matchup. That's not lock of the week. She is the favorite. That's just something that I see in this fight. Give me Marina in this matchup. Let's move on. Khaos Williams versus Rolando, and I feel bad for this kid, right? This seems like it could be one of the worst matchup for this kid. I say kid, I think he's like 26, 27 years old, something like that. Confident. I mean, he fights like a very confident kid. I mean, he's 14-1 for a reason. He comes in, hands a little bit low, confident striker, has a good chin on him, tough as hell. But I think that confidence in this matchup versus Khaos is going to get him in trouble. Yes, he has a chin, but there is levels to this game, and Khaos is developing a very well-rounded, methodical game. He used to come in and just try to take everyone's head off in the first round. Now he takes his time, picks his spots, and I believe he's going to pick his spot perfectly in the matchup and unfortunately knock this kid out. Now listen, this kid is tough. He's well-rounded. He's kind of decent everywhere. He's got good striking, but he does get hit. And yes, his chin has been holding up. And yes, he is tough. But to be tough means you are getting hit. And against a guy like Khaos Williams, I think that is bad news. It's going to be standing. Khaos is going to land some big shots and probably knock this kid out. I hope they give him a better matchup for his next fight, because I think he is somebody that could be fun to watch in this division in the UFC. But Rolando, tough UFC debut, man. I hope he gets done. It'll be fun. It'll be a huge upset. I think it's going to be one of the biggest upsets on the card, but I got to go with Khaos Williams in this matchup. Let's move on. Devin Clark versus Kennedy, and this is an interesting matchup because I think there is a path to victory for Devin Clark. Big dude, controlling, can get people against the fence and really kind of hold him there. And that's exactly what he needs to do in this fight. Get the fight to the ground if he can, control Kennedy, or even just push him against the fence and make this as boring as possible. Because anytime Kennedy is in space, he kind of lulls people to sleep, right? He's kind of low volume. He'll let you kind of pressure him against the fence, slowly reverse the positions, and all of a sudden he just kind of flips a switch, and it's boom, 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 and all of a sudden you're laying on your back wondering what the hell happened. Devin Clark needs to close the distance, needs to hold, get takedowns. The issue is, even when Devin Clark is doing that in Devin Clark fights, he'll have somebody against the fence, he'll get reversed. He'll get a takedown, he'll get reversed. And Kennedy is a tough guy to take down because of his height, because of his length. And even on the ground, we've seen him get better and better at getting sweeps, getting back to his feet. And anytime he is in space, especially against a guy like Devin Clark, he is going to be absolutely dangerous. So I'm going Kennedy in this matchup. I believe he's going to get the space he needs to land the volume, to land the power, to really hurt a guy like Devin Clark. But there is an inside path to victory for Devin Clark, but it's going to be tough. He's got to just kind of hold for 15 minutes, and I don't think he can do that. Give me Kennedy in this matchup. Drew Dober versus Matt Frevola, and this is an interesting matchup. Listen, I'm not putting minus 200 just on Drew Dober's chin. I get it. Crimson chin, he's taking all these shots, but he does get hit. To have a good chin, you got to get hit. And even when he has a good chin, he does get hurt. And I went into this matchup thinking, of course, Drew Dober is going to win because he's going to have the speed advantage. But then I started watching fights, and I'm like, yes, Drew Dober has that kind of Muay Thai, and he kind of stalks people down, but he likes that space. He likes the space. He likes the range. He likes to kind of pick his shots. When he gets in firefights, when somebody's in his face, that's where he really starts to struggle. You saw that in Terrence McKinney fight. You saw that at times in the Rafael Alves fight. Matt Frevola is going to get in his face. I mean, Matt Frevola is going to bring the pace, going to bring the pressure. He's been a lot smarter about the way he throws strikes. Maybe mixes in a takedown or two. Outside chance for Frevola, like wrestling with submissions. But either way, I think this is a coin flip. I mean, I think Frevola is going to control the distance, control the range, control the pace, control the pressure, and then it becomes a coin flip. And yes, if you want to bet on a coin flip on Frevola's chin versus Dober's chin, yeah, I would probably take Dober's chin, but Frevola is a much better striker than people give him credit for. And he looked fast in his last couple fights. So I'm going to take the upset here. I think Frevola gets in his face, gets this a little bit more dirty boxing rather than clean boxing. And in the dirty boxing, I think that's where Frevola is going to shine over the Muay Thai of Drew Dober. And if he wants to wrestle, throwing some level changes as well, that's going to help him even more in this call. So I'm going with the upset here. Matt Frevola to get in, pace, pressure, get inside kind of that Muay Thai striking of Drew Dober, make it a little bit dirty, and beat Drew Dober to the punch. And we're going to see if that chin can hold up another fight. But I'm going to take Matt Steamroller Frevola in this matchup. Let's move on to the next one. Gracie versus Charles Jourdain, and this is an interesting fight, man. Listen, Charles Jourdain is the better overall fighter. I don't think there's any question about that. Kron Gracie is who he is. He's a jiu-jitsu specialist, doesn't really have the takedowns, but on the ground, he's going to be a very, very dangerous guy. Now, he's not like super elite. It's not like if you go to the ground with him, you're going to get submitted. Like Mackenzie Dern, you're going to get submitted. Ryan Hall, you're going to get submitted, right? Kron Gracie isn't quite like that, but he is very dangerous on the ground. Kron Gracie's also kind of a dog. I mean, he's been training with the Diaz brothers for a while. Who knows what he's going to look like 3 years off? I have to imagine his striking is going to get even cleaner, and his dirty boxing is actually really clean. He's a little bit lost in rangy boxing and rangy kind of like kickboxing style, but when he gets in the pocket, he's like a Diaz brother with that just nasty, dirty boxing, tough as shit, zombieing forward, and Charles Jourdain can kind of get lured into those type of fights because he likes to brawl, right? I mean, he likes those type of fights. So this could quickly become one of those kind of phone booth type fights. And in those phone booth type fights, anything can happen. So this is a very, very close fight. Closer than the odds, I think, say that it is. Charles Jourdain is the better overall fighter, but he's got to keep range and make this boring. And Charles Jourdain just doesn't fight boring. He gets into those dirty box exchanges, and Kron Gracie is pretty good at being tough, dirty boxing, and maybe finding some way to get this fight to the ground. 3 years off, maybe he's working his takedowns, whatever it is. So yes, I am going Charles Jourdain because he is the better overall fighter, but This is probably going to become a dogfight, and in a dogfight, we'll see who the bigger dog is. And I know Charles is, I know Kron is. This is going to be a great, great fight to open up the card. Should be a lot of blood, a lot of semen, and we'll see how it plays out. Let's move on to the next one. Ovzar Evloev versus Bryce Mitchell. Listen, just please listen. Let's talk about Bryce Mitchell. Last fight, Ilia Topuria. Let's talk about Ilia. Ilia is probably going to be the champ. He is on his path to being the champion of the world. Probably the most dangerous fighter in the division. I know he's got kind of cardio issues, but as far as the speed with his hands and dangerous on the ground, very, very dangerous fighter. Bryce Mitchell came in. I thought that was an awful matchup for him, right? I was very high on Ilia. Me and Angela both were like, Ilia's going to steamroll this kid. We got a lot of blowback, and that's exactly what happened. But then when you rewatch the fight, Bryce had a couple moments in the striking in the first round. Struggled with the speed. Definitely struggled with the speed of Ilia. Struggled with the speed. Struggled with the power. Got a takedown. Got a takedown at the end of the first round. Pretty clean takedown. First time Ilia has ever been taken down in his MMA career. In MMA, first time he's ever been taken down, and Bryce had good control on top. Second round, you could tell Bryce was tired, right? Bryce was exhausted second round, but he tried to dog that fight out. I mean, he was coming for it still, tried to like brawl the situation, got taken down, nearly won a scramble, got taken down, and then submitted. The difference in this fight is Evloev is one of the least dangerous fighters in the division. In the striking, not very dangerous. Even in the grappling, he kind of wants to, take people down, hold them. He's not really a submission threat. He will work to get your back and stuff, but he's not like really aggressive with it, and he doesn't have great control. You see people getting up time and time again on him, and he can be out-wrestled. You saw that in the Mike Grundy fight. Mike Grundy was taking him down almost at will at times. The issue is for Mike Grundy in that fight, Mike Grundy is all takedowns, right? He's not a offensive wrestler and grappler and jiu-jitsu practitioner. He has no control once he gets people down. So he takes them down, and then they get right back up, even though he almost had Evloev in like a full darce and submit him. So, long story short, I believe in this matchup, Bryce Mitchell is the more dangerous fighter. I think their skill sets kind of offset each other, except Bryce Mitchell has much better control on the ground than Evloev. So if Evloev is on top, I believe Bryce Mitchell can out-scramble those positions. If Bryce Mitchell is on top, I don't think that Evloev can get back to his feet. I just don't see a situation where Evloev is out-scrambling a guy like Bryce Mitchell, who is very long for the division. I know he's not like this big, muscular guy, but at 5'10", very long. Evloev, a former 135er, not super dangerous. Bryce Mitchell is going to beat anyone that he can outwork. And I believe that Bryce Mitchell can outwork this Russian Evloev, who doesn't have a ton of control and kind of slows down as fights go. So I know a lot of people are off the Bryce Mitchell train because of the Ilia stuff, because of maybe outside the octagon stuff, and I don't agree with all the stuff that Bryce Mitchell is saying. He's a wild dude, but as far as a fighter goes, he can come in and outwork Evloev, and I believe that that's exactly what he's going to do. I think he's going to get offensive takedowns, and once he's on top, his top control and top pressure is so good. I think he can wear down Evloev, so I am taking Bryce Mitchell in this matchup. Let's move on to the next. Jandiroba versus Jessica Andrade. And I'll say it right now. I think that this is going to be a copy and paste situation of the Song Yudong Ricky Simone fight, with Jessica Andrade being Ricky Simone and Jan being Song Yudong. They same camp, team alpha male. Obviously, they're from the same region. Fight similar, right? They're both very, very dynamic strikers, had holes in their grappling game early on, but you saw how well prepared Song Yudong was for the grappling and pressure of Ricky Simone. And I think Jan's going to be the same way. I think that they are going to have her very well prepared. She's starting to clean up the grappling hole. She was completely embarrassed by Carla Esparza, and she went back to the grind and said, I don't want that to ever happen to me again. And she's cleaning up. And you saw Jessica Andrade in her last fight. And I understand that was a weird situation. It was like a weird short notice against Erin Blanchfield, the wrestler Erin Blanchfield. Her striking looked absolutely terrible. I mean, Blanchfield was lighting her up. Her timing looked off. She looked like she was pressing a little bit too much. And maybe she comes in a little bit more relaxed, a little bit cleaner. But that brawl sprawling style of Jessica Andrade, I think, is a nightmare for a guy or for a girl as precise as Jan in this matchup. I think it's the same thing, right? Ricky Simone at times was trying to out-brawl Song Yadong. It was just getting pieced apart. The footwork, the hand speed, the combinations that Song Yadong was using. It almost looked like he was just kind of sparring Ricky Simone at times. And I think there's going to be moments in this fight where Jan, with her footwork, with her speed, with her combinations, Jessica Andrade is going to be swinging, missing wildly, getting beat up by the jab, and really kind of lost in there at times. Now, if Andrade is able to get in clinches and muscle her to the ground and get her flat on the back, yes, Jessica Andrade can dominate this fight, right? She is a bully in there. But if she can't get to her and she is struggling to get these takedowns, Jan is the way cleaner striker in this, which I think is going to be a mostly striking matchup. So I'm going Jan in this matchup. I think she has a chance to absolutely embarrass and dominate in the striking a girl like Jessica Andrade. She really kind of use her footwork to get out of the power and just kind of snipe her on her entry. So I'm going Jan in this matchup. Let's move on to the co-main event. Co-main event, Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns, and I'm biased on this one. I'll be straight up and honest when I'm biased. I can't stand Belal Muhammad. Seems like a great guy outside the octagon. Seems like a fun guy, but his fighting style absolutely drives me insane. And yes, he came in against Sean Brady and kind of embarrassed him, but if you watch that fight back, I know a lot of people, and I was very high on Sean Brady in that fight. I got absolutely embarrassed by Belal Muhammad, but if you go back and watch that fight, Sean Brady was landing shots. He was landing nice little check left hooks, some good right hands right down the pipe. Belal was in his face, marching forward, throwing out that jab. I don't think that Belal's going to be able to have that pace, that pressure, the striking advantages that he had against Sean Brady. Yes, he was kind of piecing him up with the jab, but Gilbert Burns is going to be the one bringing the pressure. Gilbert Burns is going to be the one in Belal's face. Belal's not going to be able to take his time and kind of pick apart and circle around and follow Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is going to be in this guy's face. He's going to be landing big shots, and Belal is going to have to default to his wrestling in this matchup. I don't think he can win the striking exchanges like he did against Sean Brady. He's going to be on his back foot, and he's going to have to try and shoot takedowns off his back foot in this matchup. And yes, Belal is a good wrestler when he can control the pace, when he can control the distance, and he can time those takedowns. But if Gilbert Burns stays in his face, I don't think he can take Gilbert Burns down. I think Gilbert Burns is very good takedown defense, can sprawl, can get out of those situations, and maybe even out scramble and out reverse, because we know how good Gilbert Burns is on the ground. But if I'm Gilbert Burns, I don't even think I want to mess around with the wrestling in the grappling, because if you do end up on your back, Belal does have very good control and good pressure in those positions, no matter how good your jiu-jitsu is. The difference in this fight is, I think Belal comes in, thinks he had success against Sean Brady, tries to translate that same success with his hands. We've seen it time and time again. These wrestlers, these grapplers, they start having success with their hands. They think they can do it every single fight. He's going to come in. He's going to try and use that Khabib jab against Gilbert Burns, and Gilbert Burns is going to land some big shots over the top. Sean Brady was landing them. Sean Brady doesn't have the striking and power of Gilbert Burns. If Gilbert Burns is landing those same shots that Sean Brady was landing, he is going to put Belal lights out or hurt him enough to maybe get him down on his back. And then when Gilbert is on top, he's going to absolutely dominate this fight. So I'm Gilbert Burns in this matchup. Obviously, some weird situations, short notice for both, 5 rounds. So it's a little bit of a tentative pick in Gilbert Burns, but I like Gilbert Burns in this matchup. Let's go to the main event for UFC 288. Main event time for UFC 288. Let me just stay right off the rip. I'm not an Aljo hater. I'm a big Aljo fan. I absolutely love Aljo. I'm the only person in the entire world, and I'll make that claim right now. The only person in the entire world that is 4-0 on picks. I picked Aljo twice versus Petr Yan, won them both. I picked Leon twice versus Usman, won them both. I'm the only person that picked all those fights correctly. So I am an Aljo fan. And if he does get offensive takedowns and gets on the ground and gets on the back of Henry Cejudo in this matchup, of course he can win this fight. Of course, if he's backpacking Henry Cejudo, he can absolutely win this fight. But I just don't see it. I don't see the takedowns from Aljo. And yes, he's gotten some takedowns from Petr Yan. Petr Yan is a high guard, stand in front of you, and his legs are just right there, right? I mean, I don't want to say it's very easy to take down Petr Yan, but he's one of the easier guys to get to the legs, right? And Aljo gets to your legs, he drives you against the fence, and then he's looking for inside trips, outside trips, running the pipe. He's looking for methodical takedowns. He's not shooting blast doubles. He's not shooting singles and then cutting the corner and cutting the angles and doing explosive takedowns. He's very methodical with his takedowns, and he's good with them. The issue is with Henry Cejudo, or who Henry Cejudo used to be, his footwork is way too good. He's very, very fast with the footwork. In, out, side, side, striking. That karate-style striking is very hard to take down, especially when you have to be methodical with your takedowns. Now, you mix in the wrestling chops of Henry Cejudo. Gold Olympic medalist, right? Yes, nobody's really tried to offensive wrestle him, and I think he's been taken down before, and he doesn't really use his offensive wrestling as much as he used to. But in this matchup, I just don't see a world where Aljo is getting enough takedowns to be dangerous enough to win this fight. And I think Henry Cejudo is the better striker. Now, we will see. Obviously, some major red flags when it comes to Henry Cejudo. The time off was done with MMA completely. He says he's been training for a full year up to this fight. If I could copy and paste the old Cejudo into this matchup, I love it. Right, because I would love the takedown defense. I love the dynamic striking. He can go back to that karate style and have some success. And I think Aljo is a little bit lost on the feet versus a guy like Henry Cejudo. Aljo is a volume striker, kind of a pillow-fisted volume striker. And against a guy like Petr Yan with the high guard, that works because you can boom, 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 boom. But the bouncing in and out of Henry Cejudo, it's going to be hard for Aljo to find Henry in the striking. If he can't find him in the striking, I don't know how he's going to find him in the takedowns. But this isn't a copy-paste situation. We don't know how Henry Cejudo is going to look. He could come in and look fat and awful and slow and not dynamic, 36 years old. We have no idea. So yes, I believe Henry Cejudo is the more complete fighter in this matchup. But if Henry Cejudo is able to get to the legs, get a takedown, maybe Cejudo is shooting takedowns and Aljo is able to out-scramble him, there is path to victory, obviously, for the champ, Aljamain. I mean, there is path to victory. And he's huge. I mean, this guy is absolutely enormous for this, not only for this division, but Cejudo is a 125er. I mean, he really is a 125er. He is going to be massive in this fight. So maybe he's able to just kind of out-muscle Cejudo for some takedowns, but I am going with Henry Cejudo in this matchup. I think it's going to be mostly striking, and I think Cejudo is the more dangerous striker and the more dynamic striker of the two. I hope that there is some wrestling. I hope there is some grappling, some wild scrambles, but I'm going to go with Cejudo in this matchup. I'm well aware. I'm not an Aljo hater. I'm well aware of what Aljo brings. I might even be rooting for Aljo. I like Aljo, but Henry Cejudo is the pick for this matchup. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me for my quick pick video for UFC 288. Before you go, make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you are new. Go to WeWantPicks.com. Become a premium member today. It's only $10 a month. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckle Salamander, and I am out.